Hi, my name is Pia McAdams, and I'm on my nature walk, or I should say, aptly described as my walk through nature today. And on this walk today, I just kind of had something I would like to share. And again, this is not scripted or anything like that. This is literally just me walking, and then this conversation I had earlier this morning came to mind. And this has been something that I've been asking to be able to articulate so that I'm able to share it with others. And so I'm sharing it now with you. So this morning I had a very innocent conversation with my divine partner about pH. pH, in other words, you know how you take your pH morning to see you use the pH strips to test your alkalinity in your body, or whether it's acidic or neutral. And so we kind of had that conversation this morning, and because he knows that I've been doing that for now probably about the last 2 weeks, where I test my pH every morning. And so I was kind of explaining to him, because he asked me about the strips, and so I was telling him about them, and I was telling about this particular one that I had. And I was saying how the results are calculated. I was over explaining how this particular app works when I record my results. Well, anyway, he innocently mentioned to me that if your body gets too like if your pH level is like around about the 14, it's going to be too alkaline, and then you could have headaches. And then I was, I don't know if he saw like this look on my face, or I don't know what else happened, but he then said, well, most people, they do have hold on, I got sweat in my eyes. Most people do experience headaches if their body's too alkaline. And then, so I mean, again, it was an innocent conversation. I didn't think anything else about it. And then now that I'm on my walk to nature, it kind of like dawned on me. That conversation kind of replayed in my mind again. And what I was noticing was, what I'm going to entitle this, I believe, is how to be aware of your awareness, or how to train your awareness. Because what happened while walking through nature is my awareness spoke to me. And more about that a little later. But basically, I replayed that conversation in my mind, and just how that innocent conversation can really have a profound effect on people. Now, for instance, that was an innocent conversation about, him sharing his knowledge about being too alkaline if you're 14, and what the results can be. Like, in other words, you can have a headache and that kind of stuff, right? But how often do we listen to people that have expertise, or that we perceive are experts in their field, and then we take what they say to heart, what it means to us, whether or not it does or not? Like, in other words, do you just take what someone says and then just absorb it and put that into your belief system? Or do you actually just kind of question it, or does not even, like, you never was even aware of how you did it, it just kind of happens? Well, this is what I'm talking about with training your awareness. So what happened with me was, there was a time and point where I wasn't aware. Like, I just had that conversation. It was an innocent conversation. I would have thought nothing else about it, and it wouldn't have come back into my awareness again later on. That was at one point. And then I went through a period where I would be in denial of that, but not in denial of the fact, denial of that fact towards me. So in other words, I would say, or not necessarily out loud sometimes, but more than likely, I would say to myself, well, that may be true for others, but that's not going to be true for me. So in essence, that was sort of like a denial, right? And now I'm to the point where it's like I absorb what's being said, but then I'm aware of the process of what's being said. And then now I'm actually taking a proactive stance, or proactive approach to then actively saying, okay, thank you for that knowledge, because it is true knowledge, coming from a source that I find very credible. And then at the same time, though, also saying that I'm going to make a choice that's not going to happen to me. Now, within making that choice, because I now have the awareness, now stick with me, because this is where it kind of gets a little tricky if you're not paying along. So with this, don't try to think about it with your brain, just kind of allow this to absorb within you. So now what happens is, because I now have consciously made the decision that that's not going to happen to me, how that portrayed in my life was that the fact that he actually mentioned it to me. So in other words, I'm saying that I'm not going to experience headaches. Well, what typically happens when you get your body too alkaline? I'm not saying this is the only reason why you have headaches. Follow along with me. I'm talking about particularly this conversation. But what happens is most people get headaches. And so now I'm saying I'm not going to get a headache. So what that in essence is doing is training my awareness that if my body becomes too alkaline, to let me know. And how it lets me know, again, you just have to be open. But my body, I know, will let me know, because I've now trained my awareness. Now, let me just kind of step back for a moment and also mention that with this training of your awareness, it also trains your discernment. So in other words, when you're hearing people talk that you think that you're credible, if you do this time and time again, like if you start training your awareness, again, being aware of the conversation, going back, replaying it to see what was said, and then consciously decide how you're going to react or not react accordingly to that conversation. If you do this enough time, then what's happening is you're actually training your discernment as well, because a lot of people that you think are credible are going to say a lot of things. Some of it may apply to you, some of it may not, but now you're training your discernment, particularly as it relates to your awareness. So in other words, there's discernment. Like you say, okay, I discern this doctor is not credible because he didn't or something. And I'm just using doctors. It could be teachers, it could be your friends, it doesn't matter. It's whoever's giving you advice. In other words, someone that you really care about, or you don't necessarily have to care about them, but someone that you really trust. I think that's probably a better word. Someone that you really trust is saying something to you, and instead of just taking it to heart every single thing that they say, what you're doing is you're training to distinguish or discern which one is going to be applicable to you and which one that you know that you can proactively do something about. Now, over time, you're going to realize that no matter what anyone says to you, whether or not it's true to the masses, it may not be true to you because you've now trained your awareness. Okay, does that make sense? Hopefully it does. But anyway, so not only are you training your awareness, but you're also heightening up your discernment. And now let me back up and say this there was a step that I did beforehand. Again, because this was one of the things that I purposely, or I should say I intentionally asked to be aware of so that can also help others. I'm also aware of how I got to this point. And there's been a lot of things going on, but specifically what I did was I basically set an alarm on my app to remind me every hour. And I would just say to myself, my mind acts to find the facts. And that's all I would say. My mind acts to find the facts. And then whenever that alarm, came up, I would just say it and then move on. Well, that's how I started. Now, eventually what happened was, I didn't have to use the alarm. I would just say it occasionally. Like now, my awareness reminds me when I need to say it. So I went from saying it hourly to saying it a few times a day to saying it a couple times a day. I don't even know if there was a day I missed, but I mean, it may not have been. But basically, now that I've trained my awareness will remind me when I need to say it. Does that make sense? I keep asking you, does it make sense? Because when I'm saying that, kind of like pause and ponder that. Like, does that make sense to you? All right, so now that I've actually started that, then anytime that I need to be aware of anything, my mind, or I should say my awareness, alerts me. And so my awareness alerted me to this conversation because I wanted to be able to share this. All right, so anyway, I hope this is helpful and useful to you. This is just something I just, impromptu decided to do on my nature walk. And now you're probably thinking like, why do you have your cell phone in your nature walk? I have my cell phone in my bag, but it's not turned on, or I should say it's not turned on. It's turned on, but I'm not, listening to music or anything else. I just had it in my bag, and I know my awareness was letting me know that I was going to be recording this video because it's been a while since I've actually done some videos, but today is the day. But see how your awareness, again, expanding your awareness doesn't just lead to going over conversation. It also is a step ahead of you, sometimes a few steps ahead of you, so that you are now aware of the actions that you subconsciously take and not realize it. Like I subconsciously put my phone in my bag, or in my pouch, I should say. Normally when I'm going on these walks, I don't generally have my phone. I may have an iPod or something to play music, but it's very rare to have my phone. If I do have my phone, I'm playing music or listening to something. But today I made an intention that I was just going to enjoy nature, but subconsciously, I say subconsciously because I consciously brought my phone knowing that I wasn't going to be hearing or listening to anything, but I know that was a part of my awareness alerting me that there was going to be a time to use my phone. So anyway, this is just a short, quick little insert to share with you one way that you can actually utilize to train your awareness. And let me just kind of recap for you. The first thing I did was I just throughout the day I would remind myself that my mind acts to find the facts. Now I should also do a side note and say this: when I say facts, I'm not going to get into a conversation about the definition of facts, but let's just say that word facts, I'm utilizing that word as in truth as it relates to you. Okay, so not truth that it relates to everyone else, but when I say my mind, I'm saying my mind acts to find the facts that are relatable to me, the facts for me. Okay, so not everyone else, for me. So that's number one. You say that. And you continuously say that. I literally was doing it every hour, and I don't know how many days, because again, now when I do things, I don't, I just do them as I need to. And then when it's time to stop, I stop. Now the alarm is still set, but I don't do it every hour. As a matter of fact, it may just be a couple times a day. And I do know, like, let me see, I don't recall. I'm pretty sure there's been a couple days where I don't do it at all. It's not a big deal, because again, I've been on this journey for a while. But for you, just do it to whatever feels comfortable to you, and then you will know, over a period of time when it's time to let off on it. And again, even though I'm saying every hour, it literally just takes a few seconds to say that. My mind acts to find the facts, and then you just keep going on. And just do it as, you can set it between 9 and 6 or whatever time frame you want, but just kind of set your alarm to remind you. And then over time, it may taper off, and that's okay. Over time, you may say, okay, I'm not going to use the alarm. That's okay too. I don't need the alarm. It's set because that's not the only thing that I have the alarm for. Like, the alarm didn't alert me for that specific thing. That alarm alerts me every hour. There's something that I need to be doing, for my development, or for my development in this on this journey. So anyway, so that's step number 1, is by saying that, and just keep saying it for a while. And then number 2 is, while you're having a conversation with people, then just kind of take notes of what's being said. Okay. And again, at first you're going to have to consciously do this, but over time, when you train your mind or train your awareness to become aware, then that conversation that you had that you weren't thinking about specifically at the time in detail, later on it will come back to your mind, maybe later on that night, and then this is a time for you to then replay it, and then just kind of discern what was said and what's going to be applicable to you, and make intentions or set intentions to take appropriate action regarding the conversation or not. Okay, so that's really it. And I like 3. So, and then the third step would be to then, if I say that's step number 1, step number 2 would be that. And then the third step would be to actually continuously or actively engage upon that action that you determine. So and again, it's going to depend on what the conversation was about, right? So in this one, how I did it was, my first step, of course, I might act to find the facts. I do that, whenever I do it. Step number 2 was my awareness actually alerted me about this conversation. And so now what I'm doing is I'm actually sharing it with you. So the action was, because remember, I set the intention to be able to share this knowledge. And so now I'm actually doing that by using on my cell phone. And again, the results are unlimitless. Again, now my awareness just alerts me of things that I don't have to consciously replay in my mind. I don't have to replay every single conversation now, but the things that really are really applicable to me is something that I can consciously do that I subconsciously may have not known about before. Now that's being brought into my awareness. So you see how it works? It's like cyclical. In other words, you do things, you actively do things, and then it comes around, and then it reminds you of things to actively do. And again, it's not invasive or anything like that. It's literally a way for you to tap into an area of your awareness or of your subconscious mind that you previously weren't aware of. All right, so again, hope this helps, and I'll see you next time. Have a great day.